Hello and welcome to The Print. Well, the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is all set to dislodge the Arvind Kejriwal-led Aam Aadmi government from power in Delhi. What it means for Delhi, what it means for the Aam Aadmi Party as far as politics is concerned, and how the BJP managed to end this exile of over 27 years. We have with us Hilal Ahmed, who is associated with the Lokniti program of the CSDS. Also joining is Rahul Verma, a fellow at the Center for Policy Research, CPR. Thank you so much for joining in. Well, I know since morning you have been asked this question, but Rahul, I would like to start with you first. How do you read the elections? Especially, many were expecting that the freebies politics will help the Aam Aadmi Party.
Okay, so to start with, freebies alone never win you elections. That's a wrong notion to begin with. The second wrong notion, which we have created with very little empirical evidence, that women basically vote in one direction where they receive freebies from. Just to give you an example, in last 1 year, you had YSR Congress losing Andhra Pradesh, BJD losing in Odisha. Both were welfareist party in that sense, and they were offering lots of schemes to many different sections of the society. The second, I don't think BJP's victory in Haryana or in Maharashtra was alone because of their Ladki Behna scheme. These sort of like schemes, which many of you call as freebies, work in conjunction with other factors that define the political process. I think one of the reasons why AP didn't do as it was expected to do, because in last 5 years, AP does not have many positive things to show. Everything that they talk about, whether it's sort of like improvement in government schools, mohalla clinic, subsidized water bill and electricity bill, all these schemes were initiated in the first term of IAP government. In the second term, they don't have any such positive thing going on for them. Rather, the party got sort of like involved in multiple controversies, including corruption charges where many of the leaders were jailed. And so there were many negatives in the second term rather tthan the positives.
Mr. Ahmed, Arvind Kejriwal in 2013 had emerged as a giant slayer when he had defeated the then Chief Minister of Delhi, Sheila Dikshit. Today, we see that he has lost from the New Delhi constituency. Not only him, we have Manish Sisodia, we have Satyendra Jain, Saurabh Bhardwaj. Atishi, barely managed to win her seat. What does it say about the Aam Aadmi Party leadership as well as where their politics is heading?
Is this for me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Uh, I just would like to compliment what Rahul just said. I completely agree with him. And I think part of the answer to this question actually lies in the responses Rahul just underlined. Uh, you know, First of all, you have to look at this election from the perspective of voter. Uh, there is a lot of flow of movement and workers from one party to another party. So it was very difficult for a voter to identify which party is different. So there was no alternative narrative. Arvind Kejriwal came into existence with the idea that he would introduce some kind of an alternative politics in India, and that promise of alternative politics was entirely relied upon the question of two things: one, corruption, and second was inherently communalism, because in the 2010s we used to adhere to that idea of communalism, etc. But the manner in which the centralization has happened in Aam Aadmi Party over the years, and the ways in which Hindutva was accepted by Aam Aadmi Party as a dominant narrative, somehow it actually confused the voter that which party is offering what. And I completely agree with Rahul when he says that you cannot entirely adhere only to the freebies, that as if that the voter is a client and you are the providers. So politics does not work in that sense. So you have to have. We cannot underestimate the significance of political ideas, and in fact, Rahul has written a book on that. So the political ideas are crucial. So first of all, Aam Aadmi Party was unable to produce a new set of ideas. One. Second is that, we often say that public memory is very short, but we all remember that actually Aam Aadmi Party came into existence just because of India against corruption, and corruption was so powerful. Now, the rise of Aam Aadmi Party was an outcome of corruption issue, and the downfall of Aam Aadmi Party is also the question of corruption. So, therefore, one has to be very clear that you cannot fool people. I may sound like quite harsh, but this is actually exactly what a common person in Delhi would like to think, that there is no difference between uh, BJP and Aam Aadmi Party. So therefore, the defeat of these stalwarts as well as the defeat of Aam Aadmi Party must be linked to the debate on political ideas. One. But having said that, I don't think that we should underestimate the performance of Aam Aadmi. They managed to get at least 40% plus vote share. This is not a small thing. So therefore, I'm not dismissing uh, entirely the performance of individual candidates who won election or who are actually struggling to win election. I think we also have to take into consideration when we think the broader picture.
Right. One important aspect of this election was brand Modi. We saw that Modi ki guarantee was the main focus in Lok Sabha elections. It went missing during Haryana, Maharashtra elections. As such, it was also not spoken about during Jharkhand, though in Jharkhand he was the face of the campaign. We saw during the 2025 Delhi elections, Modi ki guarantee made a comeback with the posters on the manifesto. We saw Modi everywhere. What does this mean for brand Modi, these elections? Rahul, if
Okay.
you could. Yeah.
Okay. So let me sort of like make 2 points. One, I think uh, Modi looms large on Indian politics and especially BJP's politics. Uh, I don't have better metrics than what you just pointed out about whether Modi is sort of like distancing or coming in. I don't think BJP, since the rise of Modi, has ever contested any election without the umbrella sort of like coalition that he has created. So if you think of BJP and Modi both, 2024 election results were a huge setback to both BJP and Modi. And at one point of time after the elections, it looked like that BJP could now be cornered. Haryana results, where they were expected to not do well, reversed or at least put a brake on that slide. And then the convincing victory in Maharashtra reversed that sort of like perception of Modi BJP in decline. And now Delhi, where they had not been in power for 27 years, this kind of victory in India's national capital is going to solidify the kind of project which BJP started in 2014, right? So in some ways, coming back to India's political epicenter and getting the kind of victory they have got is going to add another sort of like feather, if you want to call it, to both BJP and Modi's cap. Something which I want to sort of like add to what Hilal Bhai was saying in his answer to your question, I think something changed in last 1 month in Delhi election, right? Most people who were traveling on the ground uh, in the beginning of January would say, yes, there is some level of anti-incumbency, but given the vote share gap and seat share gap that AP has, it will narrow down, but it will still able to win. I think between 15th January and the voting day, BJP was able to course correct on many things. Their campaign started focusing on little bit more on civic issues, the water issue, the road issue, and other thing, right? So the attack was there. The promises of welfare schemes or freebies, what you want to call, was there. Change in campaign narrative, as well as I think the budget announcement with sort of like rebate for middle class in terms of taxes sealed everything. This could have only worked if there was a serious level of anti-incumbency against the Kejriwal government. Now, AP, while has held its vote share or like has 40% plus vote share, the top leadership losing, members of the cabinet losing, indicate that there was a level of dissatisfaction for sure, if not anger, towards Arvind Kejriwal and his party.
Right. Hilal, there are a number of Muslim dominated constituencies, and a number of articles were written. Will the Muslim vote stay with the Aam Aadmi Party, or will it, partially get transferred to the Congress? We are looking at the results. Of course, the entire result is not yet out, but it seems like there has been some damage that has been done to the Aam Aadmi Party as far as, these Muslim dominated constituencies are concerned.
I think it would be too early to say that, but because Delhi voters, whether it is a Muslim voter or a Hindu voter, or for that matter, belong to any political any social group, I think they are strategic voters.
Hmm.
And there is a important aspect of voting, which is actually a general unwritten norms of Indian politics, that people do not want to waste their vote, and that's why nota is not always preferred. Now, when it comes to Muslims, I think that, as I said, that the strategic voting is not specific to Muslims. Delhi voters has always been very strategic. Look at what really happened in, say, in 2014, and just following 2014 Delhi election, BJP did not manage to win, and only 3 seats at that time, and then in 2020. Then 2019, and then 2024. So Lok Sabha, BJP is winning. But in Assembly, I think every social group was, favoring Aam Aadmi Party for a long time. So we can't say that Muslim voting pattern was specific or different. Now, in this election, it was again AAP, I would say, that managed to get some kind of a substantial Muslim vote, but at the same time it is actually constituency specific. So we cannot club all 3 or 4 or 5 constituency which are Muslim dominated into
Right.
one thing. They, for example, Okla constituency would behave differently because it is candidate centric voting, like Balli Maran, because there is a person who has been contesting there for a long time. In, say, for instance, Matia, this
Hmm.
person was earlier with the Congress, earlier with the Janata Dal, then moved to the Congress, and then to the Aam Aadmi Party. So it's a candidate-centric voting. So therefore, we cannot say that the entire Muslim community come together and they form a block and they supported or disrupted AAP, etc. So they are not outliers. In fact, they are behaving the way the other social groups in Delhi behaving.
Right. Rahul, how difficult do you think it will be for the Aam Aadmi Party to survive in opposition without, let's say, any ideological glue?
Okay. Let me sort of like first add to what Hilal Bhai was saying on
Sure.
this question. It's very important in a way. I think once this election would be over, greater analysis would start happening. There is always a tendency to find who the villain of the story was, right? And it
Absolutely.
would be the Congress or the Muslim vote fragmentation, another kind of thing. The defeat of top leadership of AAP and the 10% swing against them is a clear signal that the first sort of like responsibility of what happened in this election lies with Arvind Kejriwal and AAP. Everything else is secondary, right? All other things might have added in a bit and there, but ultimately, this is the big picture story which led to the loss of AAP. Now, AAP losing in Delhi is going to be a significant blow to them. I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying Arvind Kejriwal is a kind of politician who will go away and other kind of things. But BJP was there, Delhi was their base, and AP has never been out of power in Delhi. So they don't know how to survive politically without power. It's going to create problems for them. The second state is Punjab, where they are in power.
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
serious setback during Lok Sabha elections, where they won only 3 seats while having almost two-thirds majority in assembly election. They don't have any sort of like big positive governance story coming out of Punjab. And so the AAP's expansionist sort of like story after winning Punjab, they went to Gujarat and Goa and other thing. I think that story is definitely going to suffer. More, what is going to suffer is the kind of credibility on which AP came as a party and Arvind Kejriwal became a leader. Because him losing, the expectation was that if they had done well individually with the party, they could say, see, public still thinks that we were not responsible for it. Now that AAP has done reasonably well, but these leaders who were arrested on charges of corruption, many of them have lost. It will basically be a big credibility blow, or sort of like loss of political legitimacy to begin with. And so AAP's crisis has begun now, and in a very, very serious way.
Absolutely.
Right. Hilal, how much did Kejriwal running the Aam Aadmi Party as a one-man show sort of affect the party?
Very much, because I think we have to systematically look at the trajectory of AAP, because they came as a highly decentralized political formation after India Against Corruption. They established a constitution which was based on the premise that there should not be a centralization. But in last 7 8 years, in fact, in last 2 years, I would say that Kejriwal, especially Kejriwal, he changed the constitution, and there was a provision in the constitution of Aam Aadmi Party that one person only will, first of all, that it should not be a family party. Second provision was that one person will be the leader of the party only once. And there was some provision with regard to who would be the chief minister, etc. So Arvind Kejriwal systematically destroyed the promise of AAP. So therefore, the centralization tendency which he created for himself actually destroyed not merely his stature as a national leader, but also the party. So therefore, I think he should take the blame. He should be the person who should be blamed for the defeat of AAP, because everything was actually centering around his persona. One. Second is that it is also important to look at two experiments. Usually what happens when you introduce the idea of alternative politics, and it is very important to look at alternative politics in its entirety. Now, this election, in my view, has underlined three things, three longer things for the emerging, nature of Indian democracy in future. One is that something which I called the rise of a charitable state. This is a state that would provide you one-time grant scheme sort of a package, and the state would not be interested in looking at the structural causes of issues which are affecting people. So that's one thing on which all political party agree. BJP was actually the master party. They got advantage of this charitable state model because they introduced it, Labarte phenomena, etc. They managed to get it, and it has implication for Aam Aadmi Party as well. The second is, and the second important point is that professionalism in politics. You cannot, as Rahul said initially, you cannot win an election only on the basis of professionalism. You need something extra. BJP has able to produce that something extra. You cannot say that my guarantee is this and this. So alternative politics was the broad idea. Along with there were certain schemes which helping Aam Aadmi Party that has gone. So there is no alternative vision around which you can constitute yourself. The third important aspect is the future of India Alliance. We know that Congress, as an average voter, one would expect a person who is going to vote, what he or she would be thinking that they were together in Lok Sabha and they are fighting each other. So what would be the nature of this alliance? And if you are going to only there as an alliance to oppose BJP, your fate is actually highly uncertain. So the fate of India Alliance and the internal contradiction in India Alliance are also going to determine the future of Aam Aadmi Party in a significant way.
Right. Rahul, I know you have to go for another show. One last question. What do you make of the Congress's game plan? And, after Haryana, Maharashtra, now Delhi, we have Bihar elections. What do you think, as far as strategy of the BJP is concerned, what is it that it will continue going ahead?
I don't know whether Congress actually has a game plan to begin with. And I'm sorry I'm saying this. I don't have access to their highest level. So this is just my speculation based on what they have done in last 1 year. I think they overinterpreted the number of seats they got in 2024 election. The overinterpretation relied on as if they had done something or many things which led to it. Of course, they had done few things different from past, but they got more sort of like rewards than the actual work they had put on the ground on that sense. And so Congress seems like every year the story is same for last 10 to 12 years, which is that they take one step forward, raise hopes, and then they get two steps backward. I think Haryana, Maharashtra, and Delhi is going to put a serious sort of like challenge, one, to Congress's own prospects. Now, their own ability to negotiate with allies is going to be lower than compared. What happened in Delhi, where all other India alliance constituents sort of like came out against Congress and sided with AAP, which will create more frictions within the India alliance. So, for all practical purposes, India alliance does not seem like a ideological counterweight to the BJP in a medium to long run. Rather, it looks like an alliance of convenience, sort of like brought together just for the purposes of elections. And so, if you win election, you'll stick for some time. But if you lose, then you are going to fade out. You, this is a very, very serious problem, especially if you are planning to contest and challenge an election machine like BJP, uh, which is unparalleled in sort of like modern Indian history for sure. Think of like, and I don't want to like now have all praises for BJP, that they do everything right, but it seems that they learned some lessons from their 2024
Yes,
setback and
absolutely.
course corrected in all three elections. In none of the three elections they won, they were expected to win, right? And even in Delhi, a month back, if you had traveled and asked anyone, they would have said, they will gain, but they won't win because like not much has happened. But in some ways, BJP basically tried to cover every base in Delhi election in last 2 to 3 weeks. There was a mobilization on the ground, attack on the negative issues, civic issues were brought up, middle classes were given sort of like benefits in budget. In all, like, so in some ways, but all of this all only worked in their favor because the problems within AAP and Kejriwal, right? Kejriwal not resigning when he was jailed is sort of like might have been read in a very different way by the middle of the road voters, not AAP loyalists, not BJP loyalists. And they might have thought that this person is no different than any other politician. He wants to continue to stick to power, and he only plays the blame game, right? The opposite example would be, and I'm not saying comparable, but look at what happened in Jharkhand, where JMM was able to come back. Hemant Soren was jailed. He resigned. When he came out, he sort of like took back only then, and somehow managed to run a campaign where he was able to take on BJP. So I think the lessons for uh, Congress is very, very clear. It's very clear for AP as well. Uh, but how politics is going to move forward will also depend on whether they actually learn the lesson or not, and what BJP reads of its verdict. Because given the trajectory of three assembly elections, I think we'll see more sort of like effects of these changes in elections to come later this year and next year.
Right. Hilal, one last question to you. What do you think worked for the BJP? As I said, 27 years is a long time. Several elections took place. What is it that happened this time that worked for the BJP?
Uh, One simple thing, professionalism and course correction. If you are professional and you know your strength and weaknesses well as a political party, you are going to design your campaign effectively. One. Second, then you have to also rely on something called, you should have an open door policy. Three, a set of ideas. I think if you have all these three things, then you can certainly do something. As Rahul said about Congress, they don't have ideas, obviously. They don't have any strategy. And the professionalism that is required, you have to take decision very. I completely agree with Rahul that if you travel, a month ago, People would say, yes, certainly BJP is going to do much better, but Aam Aadmi, we are confident that Aam Aadmi Party is going to fall. But this not happened. Why? And this was actually very similar story if you look at Haryana. So you have to stick to your professionalism, and you have to add that professionalism with an activist strategy. And I think BJP, the machinery called BJP, is self-critical in some sense, because there is a lot of, I'm not praising everything because they are winning, but if you carefully look at the strategic moves BJP makes, I think it is very important. Remember that if you compare Delhi election with Haryana, you find that Mr. Modi's face was not the visible face here. But here, Mr. Modi is there. So it all requires what kind of mobilization package you are going to introduce. And that is also very, very contextual. So that really helped.
Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your perspective. I know it's a busy day for both of you. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.